everybody doing?
Good.
Good job, great job. You got the crowd all excited. Let's see. So I'm gonna give a presentation, and we're gonna see if we can make this work. Well, hi again, my name is Shannon Singleton. Before I ever thought about being an author, I was and still am a mom, a leader, and a storyteller at heart. In my 9-to-5 life, I'm a program project manager, as you guys heard, and the executive director of the Miles Singleton Foundation, which I started in 2010. I'm also a children's book author, having written Quit Following Me, Tickle Me Mommy, and What I Like About First Grade. All stories inspired by real moments and people in my life, which you have already heard. And of course, I'm the proud mother of Jalen and Ty. That's my two monsters back there, and you guys can see them. They're older now, but they're still my monsters. And now I can officially add adult fiction author to that list as well. I'm trying to see if he's gonna let me click or not. What did you do? You just did magic. Oh, she's magic. Give it up for Heather. Thank you. A simple question launched me into writing adult fiction. What would you do if at 12 years old you faced the choice to kill your father? I know the saying goes, life imitates art, but for me, it was the other way around. And I used the magic button this time. You see, my sister Dion and I actually faced that question, and that's some pretty heavy stuff for little girls. The good news is, we didn't commit any murders, so you're good. But the rest of our childhood was rough, but we made it through. Still, that question stayed with me for years. What if we had planned it out? Would we have gone through with it? Would we have been caught? Would we be in jail somewhere? Or still free, but imprisoned in our minds by what we had done? What kind of life would we have? Those what ifs, thoughts eventually became words, then pages, and ultimately piece them into chaos. At first, it was my way of finding closure, of giving that little girl inside me a voice. But it also became a story about choice, resilience, and the complicated ways people heal. At its core, Piece Them Into Chaos is about survival, not just from physical harm, but from emotional and generational wounds. It's about forgiveness, finding beauty in broken places, and redefining what peace means. Each character in Piece Them Into Chaos reflects a different side of healing, forgiveness, and what it means to find peace after pain. Mary carries the quiet strength and resilience that often holds families together, but her silence also shows how unspoken pain can echo for generations. Lisa represents the struggle to face pain head-on, to question, to feel, and to finally start breaking patterns. Miriam reminds us that healing isn't always graceful. Sometimes it's messy, distant, and full of guilt, but still rooted in love. Devin shows how empathy and presence can open doors to healing that love alone can't fix, but can nurture. Nathaniel embodies what happens when trauma is left unhealed, when pain turns inward and then outward, hurting everyone it touches. Together they mirror the truth that peace doesn't mean life without chaos. It means learning to live through it, with it, and sometimes because of it. Before we move further, I'd like to share the moment that brings Lisa and Miriam's worlds back together, the scene that begins it all. This is a reading from Room 98, the hospital room where the past and present first collide, and it's the first chapter in the book. Now, you guys are gonna have to give me some grace because I thought I was gonna have the headset on and I don't, so I'm gonna try to do this. And then the magician is back. Room 98. Miriam pulled into a spot near the hospital entrance without much effort. Not that she was surprised. At this hour, the lot was nearly empty, the quiet hum of the night settling over the area. Overhead lights cast a pale glow across the pavement, stretching shadows from the few scattered cars. Lafourche Medical Center stood ahead, a simple two-story brick structure. No towering glass windows or sprawling wings, just a no-frills square building. It was enough. In a town this size, there wasn't much need for anything bigger. She could see her reflection in the sliding glass doors as she walked up to the entrance. Every time she saw the full length of her 5-foot frame, she was reminded of how desperately she wanted to be taller when she was younger. She had spent years wishing for a few more inches. Growing up, she had stretched, measured, and even willed herself taller, but nature had other plans. In the end, she figured that's why God made high heels. Slipping into a pair always gave her the height she once prayed for, and with it a surge of confidence that made the world seem just a little more within her reach. As she glanced at her reflection, her brows pinched together. The sight of her tennis shoes made her sigh. "I should have kept on my heels," she muttered under her breath. The door stood open right on cue, as if physically speaking her next thought. It's too late now. She approached the information desk. The faint hum of a computer and a soft shuffle of papers filled the quiet space. "I need the room number for Mary Butler, please," she said, resting her hands on the counter. The receptionist barely looked up. "Are you family?" "Yes, she's my mom." "She's in room 98. It's down this hallway on the right." Miriam already knew the way, but nodded anyway. No need to seem dismissive. "Thank you, ma'am," she said with a slight smile before turning towards the hallway. The silence stretched around as she walked, the only sound coming from the rhythmic squeak of her sneakers against the polished floor. Each step echoed through the empty corridor. She stopped in front of door 98. The hospital always had a cold, sterile feel to it, and Miriam couldn't shake the discomfort that crept over her every time she walked through those sliding doors. She had lost count of how many times she and her mother had been admitted over the years. It almost felt like a second home growing up. Except this one was yet another unhappy home. One where the adults gave pitiful looks, awkward stares, and talked in hushed tones. For all the giving they gave, the one thing they never gave was what her, Nathaniel, and her mother needed the most: a way out. No one here ever spoke up, never offered to help her mother escape the prison that was her father. In fact, that's the one thing they seemed good at, patching them up and giving them back to her father. As Miriam reached for the doorknob, she felt a nauseating feeling of dread deep down inside. She quickly brought her right hand to her stomach as if to will it, command it to quiet down. With her left hand, she tried over and over again to reach for the knob, but the knob kept getting further and further away. The more it moved away, the harder it was for her to breathe. The air felt thick as mud, forcing her to draw shallow, desperate breaths. Her mind rebelled against her, conjuring an image of her father standing rigid on the other side, his eyes blazing, fists clenched at his sides, jaw tight with fury. She made herself close her eyes and began repeating over and over in her mind, "Go, my child, and do my dirty work, and may the force be with you." The phrase originated from a comical incident with her best friend Lisa and another friend during their preteen years. As the memory replayed, the world swam back into focus, her ragged breaths slowly steady, the familiar dance of panic receding. The doorknob, her nemesis, now stood in its rightful place, no longer warping and shifting with her racing thoughts. She drew in one last breath, steadying herself as her hand inched forward. Just as her fingertips brushed the cool metal of the knob, door 98 swung open. Oh, it's different reading your book up here in front of people. That moment in room 98 sets everything in motion. Not just for Lisa and Miriam, but for everyone in the story. It's where old wounds resurface and where the hard work of healing truly begins. Writing this reminded me that healing isn't something that happens all at once. It's layered, it's messy, and yet even in the middle of all that pain, there are glimpses of peace, moments that remind us we're still moving forward. I hope this book reminds readers that healing isn't neat or linear. that peace can coexist with pain, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply keep going. So what I'd like for you to take away from my book is, it takes courage to face old wounds. Believe in the power of friendship and forgiveness. Love, in all its forms, can anchor us through pain. And peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's the strength to find calm within it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So any questions or what resonated with you?
So I've always been afraid that if I started to write, it would always be based on true characters and I would have to just change the names. But I wanted to ask you where you were from. I noticed there was some schizophrenia in the book. I have a nephew that's schizophrenic. And were you a big reader when you were growing up?
So there was a few questions. Let's see if I can
I'm from Louisiana, so y'all might have heard the accent just a little bit. Just a little. Let's see. I done lost it. Oh, yeah. So I feel like the characters are composites of people in my family, people I've heard about, people I've worked with, and stuff like that. So it's like all of my experiences come together to make these different characters. I would like to note that I didn't say in my presentation that I actually started this book 20-something years ago. Around, I think, 2001 or something. I started writing in a 5-subject tablet book, and I kept that tablet for like 20 years. And then I dug it up and started reading it and then putting it on the computer and stuff. And one thing I found was like, wow, I'm such a different person now than I was back then. So it was like I was writing with myself. I was writing a book with myself. So some of the stuff I was like, man, I was right on with this, and the other stuff was like, what was I thinking? Like, so it was an experience to be able to write a book with myself. And then, did you have another? I don't know that it says schizophrenia, but my sister is a counselor, and so I sat down with my sister before, once I got it on the computer, I sat down with my sister and I said, okay, well, this person was doing this. Is that something? And then she'd go, well, yeah, they have such and such. It sounds like they're doing such and such. And then she kind of talked to me about what that means and what that entails, and so that kind of helped me develop some of the things that went on with the characters later on in the book.
I have a question building on what your question. So it sounds like this could have been based on people you know, potentially people in your family. How do you balance telling your story, respecting their story?
Good question. I think a lot of the stuff that's in the book that is from my family, they're gonna laugh and think it's funny. You know, it's little nuggets for them that they're gonna be like, oh, I remember this time we did this, you know, because we're pretty silly and stuff like that. And then other times they're gonna, I mean, we grew up in a household that was very abusive, as you can tell from us thinking about what we were thinking about. And so I think, like that first part about her saying that, you know, no one had ever helped and they never felt seen, I think a lot of my siblings most probably understood that feeling as well. So I don't have anything in there that they would just be like, oh my God, I can't believe you told them, you know. So I have to say that for that part.
I guess I still feel like I'm the interviewer, right? So tell me, it's a fictional book, but what do you want to leave people with? Do you want any action to be taken? I mean, drawing on from that excerpt that you wrote, what would you like to come out of it?
I think more of kind of like what Greg was saying earlier. It's like, look at the victims, really look at people, like, and take in what's happening with them, be more empathetic. I started my foundation in 2010 because when I was little, we would get like presents for Christmas from different organizations, but like they would always give me a doll. I don't like dolls. I wanted a book. Oh, that's what your other question was. I love to read. Okay, I was such a, I still know my middle school teacher now. You didn't think I was weird that I did all my book reports on Stephen King? Like I read The Stand when I was in 7th grade, so to let you know, I love reading. But I started my foundation because they gave me a present, and I had to be like maybe, I don't know, 10, but they didn't see me. I understood that they wanted to help, but they didn't see me. So for one of the things I do with my organization is when we sponsor a family, we go in, we get their wish list from them, we ask them what do they like, what's their favorite characters, what's their favorite, hobbies, all of this stuff. So when we go shopping for them, it's presents for them. And a lot of my programs are like that with my foundation. So I would like to see more of that. Like, stop passing people by when you see something's going on, right? Or when you say, hey, how are you? And people, you say, oh, I'm good. They say that because they know you really don't want to know the answer. So I always stop and say, no, you look like something's going on. I really want to know how you feel. So I think a lot more of that would kind of help out in the world, if that makes sense.
It sounds like reading this book was cathartic for you. And when you do that, do you feel like you've told the story right and that I'm now better off that I've written it down and tried to make something of it?
I would have to say definitely yes to that. It's also me feeling like if anybody ever felt like any of these characters ever felt in the book, then they feel like they're not alone. I think that's another big thing for me with writing this particular book was that, growing up, you kind of feel like you're alone. I remember times when I was in 5th grade that I just felt like, man, I just want to end myself. And then I thought, dang, this isn't right for a 10-year-old to be thinking this, type of thing. And I know it's not for 10-year-olds, the book, but if anybody ever felt like they're growing up and they read the book and they can relate to that. So I think that was another thing, getting it out there so people can also feel like they're not alone. But yes, I do feel very accomplished and felt like I did something positive. I went the other spectrum. We didn't commit any murders.
I've got 2 questions. Okay. Can you fill in that?
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so I'm also from Louisiana, New Orleans. I'm wondering, did the culture of the states take any major part in the book itself?
Good question, my dear sir. So, the majority of the book takes place in Louisiana. I was gonna save this for last. I talk about a lot of food in the book. It's just kind of like a byproduct of being in Louisiana. But today I did make pecan candy, which is the Louisiana sweet treat that I was gonna share with y'all. He just pulled it out, and I was gonna wait to the end. But so yes. Louisiana, like I said, is based in Louisiana. It's based in Donaldsonville, which is where I'm from. D-ville, represent. Yeah, and I think that kind of answers that question for you, right?
Yeah, that's good.
So with your foundation, if we wanted to make a donation, where would we go? Which one would we go to?
I didn't put it up there. I didn't think that far because I'm like, I'm at my author event. But if you go to www.miles, and Miles is spelled MYLES, foundation.org, you can go to our website and donate there. Thank you.
Any other comment? I love that you have so many questions.
Greg showed me how to do.
So I have to ask, when you were thinking about killing your father, what did you think you were going to do? Like, what was the plan? Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to give a little context to that. So me and Dion, by the way, there's 10 of us. My mom and dad had 10 of us. My dad had we won't speak on how many kids that he thought he had. But anyway, so me and Dion slept in the same room together, and I woke up in the middle of the night and she wasn't in the room, and she had been crying because something had happened earlier. So I go find her, she's downstairs in the kitchen looking for through the knives. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm tired of this. I can't take it anymore. And I told her, and so I'm like 9, 10, she's like 12, 13. And so I tell her, if you do that, it doesn't matter what he's been doing to us, they don't care. I said, what we need to do is, if we're gonna do something like this, we need to plan it out so where we won't get in trouble. So that stopped her that night, and then we never kind of came back around to it, but that's what happened. So we didn't really have a plan. It was just me stopping her by saying what I was saying, and that, I think that's another thing, like 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds shouldn't be having these conversations, but because of the situation we were in, we were having those conversations. And you know, I've always been like a more mature person, and I know those situations were bad, but also make me who I am today, you know, and so it's kind of like a double-edged sword with that, but that's basically what happened that night. Thank you for the question. I love when people ask those, you know, direct questions.
Any others? Okay.
Greetings. Congratulations on your books as well. I've never met someone who, this is kind of like a different subject, if that's okay. I've never met someone who wrote children's books before. What inspired you to write the children's books, and what was your biggest challenge with writing them?
Thank you for that question. So I'm going to give some more context. So I already told you guys I love writing and reading. So my oldest son Jalen was like me, loved reading, you know. And so he came to me when he was like in middle school, and he was like, "Mama, you know, I like these books, but I don't ever see any black kids in it. I don't ever see anybody that looks like me." And I had the same problem. So I told him then, I feel you, I have the same problem, but as a parent, I didn't know what else to say other than I understand what you're saying. And then fast forward to like maybe 10 more years, my youngest son, Ty, I was teaching him how to drive. And that was during COVID, so everybody was laid off, including me. And so I was having fun, you know, one little respite was showing him how to drive. And then all of a sudden he would, you know, make up excuses when it was time for us to go do our driving. And then one day I was like, Ty, like, what's the deal, man? What's going on? Why you don't want to go driving? And he was like, well, I really don't want to get stopped by the cops and get shot because George Floyd had just got killed. And so for me, I can't tell my baby that that's not going to happen to him. And again, I felt powerless because I couldn't tell my kid that that wouldn't happen to him. So fast forward again to 2023, our job told us that they were going to be laying us off. And God told me that he wanted me to start writing again. And so I was like, God, you sure about this? Because, yeah. So I started writing, and so the thing was, I wanted to write something that could combat what Jalen had talked to me about and what Ty had went through too. So to me, being able to write true stories, that's why they're true. Because I wanted them to see that African American people are not the stereotypes that people see every day or hear about every day. And that maybe if a little kid grew up reading my books, when they heard a stereotype, they wouldn't believe it. So that's my parental way of fighting back. Thank you for the question.
She wanted to ask again, was that based on a true story? A piece of it, the chaos.
It was derived from that night with me and my sister. You know, it came from the night that my sister and I had that I told you guys about, you know, me stopping her. So then that's where the what ifs were, like, what if we would have did that? So the characters in the book are all made up, but at the core of what the book was about a similar incident. So. Oh, and to answer your question, all those stories the children's stories are true. So it really didn't take me that long to write them. They're just memories. I did consult with Jill and Ty to make sure I didn't forget anything, and it was fun working with my kids, going through the third one. What I like about first grade is actually Jalen's first grade journal. And so he is the co-author on that. So I love being able to do that. And if you guys don't mind me speaking on it, they even helped me pick the illustrator. They picked so my kids were very involved. And for me, I love being an author because I get to pass on this generationally. A lot of people, I'm the ancestry person, looking back on our ancestry and our family, and a lot of times you can't get past a certain point because of slavery. But I love my books because my great-great-grandchildren will know exactly what their great-great-grandfathers were doing. And so for me, that's like the highlight for me. I feel like I've accomplished something because of that.
Thank you so much, Shannon.